I have been debating whether or not I need a burner Twitter account.
What? A burner account?
Yes. So let me tell you, I have just been recently getting some more followers on Twitter, working from Fast Company, doing this podcast. I'm getting my name out there. And some of my coworkers have been following me on Twitter, which I never really had to experience before. And now I'm just taking a step back and I'm thinking maybe I need a burner account so I can kind of have like a work Twitter and a play Twitter because I don't want, what happened to Paul Pierce to happen to me.
Oh my God, I feel so anxious about this now and about my own social presence. What happened to Paul Pierce?
Okay, so Paul Pierce was an NBA analyst for ESPN, and he had a little bit too much fun on Instagram Live. I don't know what he was celebrating, but he had dancers who were half naked. He had alcohol. He was clearly under the influence. He was on Instagram Live talking crazy. And it was not a good look for him. It was not professional. And he ended up losing his job. So, I mean, I would never do anything that crazy on social media. But ever since my coworkers and managers have been following me on Twitter, I have taken a step back and really basically hesitated for every retweet and like. I'm thinking, okay, I can't like this anymore. I don't want this to come up on their timeline because of me.
I feel like I like things kind of unconsciously. And then I'm like, wait, no. But also,
yes, exactly.
I guess the lesson here is next time I'm at a party for me surrounded by half naked people, I will not go on Instagram Live.
Like, I would just never do that. I mean, do you utilize like close friends on Instagram?
Not really, but I'm not a huge Instagram stories person.
Okay.
It takes so much effort. Like I want to live my life where I'm not like every second being like, should I post something? Should I,
No, yeah, I feel you because recently I had a little birthday gathering, COVID safe, of course, for anybody listening. I don't want you to think I'm out here reckless, but I had a little birthday gathering and it was just a game night with some friends and alcohol. And first of all, we're both legally drinking age. Like I'm 26 years old, but for some reason, I just wanted to post it on my close friends instead of for the public because I didn't want my coworkers seeing me throwing back shots and having fun with my friends. I want to keep a professional image.
It sounds like that's one boundary, right? Like you don't want your coworkers to see you taking shots.
Yeah.
What are your other boundaries? Like thirst traps? What are you thinking?
I've definitely thought about that too. Like for me, outside of Fast Company, I would just consider myself a content creator. I love jumping on TikTok trends and stuff like that. And so that one trend, it was called the Bust It Challenge. And everybody was doing their little transformation video to the song Bust It. And I was like, this looks so fun and I want to jump on. But the first thing I immediately thought of was, this is not good for my brand. I can't post this on Instagram. People will be looking at me crazy, So I had to forego that challenge. I was not able to participate in that challenge. And I did kind of feel like my creativity was stifled because I wanted to have fun just like everybody else too. But I have an image to uphold on social media now, being in the media and being a public figure. I'm making myself sound more important than I am.
Yeah,
I'm not a public figure.
Have I ever thought of myself as a public figure? Like, no, but maybe I should. I don't know. What's your favorite? So I personally, I use Instagram. Like I post when I want and I scroll through it a lot. And Twitter, I'm just like not pithy enough. Like, or like I don't have, some people are really good at Twitter. I'm just not one of those people. But I haven't used TikTok. I'm not that familiar with other platforms. What's your favorite platform and why?
I would say it's a close tie between Instagram and Twitter. Instagram, I have been active on there since 2012, I think. So I really have put a lot of effort into my feed and engaging with my audience, as the influencers say. And I'm a visual person. I have a graphic design background. So I just love the imagery on Instagram. I don't really get that on Twitter a lot, but I do love Twitter because back in the day, I used to really use it as like my own diary. I've since outgrown that, thank God. I used to just tweet anything. I started Twitter when I was in high school, so I used to just tweet, what people say, like the cliche, like what I'm having for breakfast. Nowadays, I really love Twitter because I can use it as a news source. I
Yeah.
can watch live presidential debates on there, live sports. Everything is in one app. And it's just a good laugh sometimes when you just need a good laugh. But to your
I,
point, I feel like I'm not witty enough sometimes with my tweets. Like, social media is kind of a game these days. If you want the likes and the retweets, you have to say the right thing.
yeah, I feel that. I mean, it's funny. I wrote an essay for on fastcompany.com, guys. Check it out. This was like a year ago about, or more than a year ago, pre-COVID, about how Instagram had been around for 10 years and looking at how the platform had changed. And part of it was talking about the fact that I loved it at the beginning when it was like you just saw photos as they were posted. There were
Yeah.
no ads, like that wasn't a thing yet. Instagram, the sort of influencers weren't a thing in such a big way, and how it's like slowly and slowly and slowly turned into this like basically shopping app.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it makes me kind of sad, I guess. It's
Oh,
like
me
I
too.
feel like it's less of a fun experience. I feel like I'm comparing myself so much more to people than I did before. But and like I remember putting in a line that was like, I've been using it for 10 years, so since I was in college, and like I guess I can't, it's almost like hard for me to remember a time when I didn't on some level think of myself as like a brand.
Yeah.
That said, my brand on Instagram is like kind of stupid.
I
Like,
like your Instagram aesthetic, they say, how you just post like random things, but they all seem to come together. And I'm glad that you don't overanalyze your captions and post too much, because sometimes I can get really bogged down with posting at the right time, the right hashtags, the right lighting. And sometimes I just see you and you're like, here's my cat. And I like that.
yeah, you have like a way more. So I was looking at your Instagram and I was looking at mine, and yours is like very professional, like you post photos where you always look good in them, and like your boyfriend is really cute, and
Thanks.
you know what I mean? Whereas like I have one, I realized, like I was looking through this morning, like I posted a photo of like my boyfriend flipping the bird at the camera a few days ago, and I was like, am I qualified to go on this podcast and talk about like
Yeah,
I
like
guess
I
not
mean,
with personal brand?
let's just talk about like how much of your personal life do you share on social media, because for me, people who follow me have definitely seen at some point or another my boyfriend, my mom, my friends, and sometimes I talk about my religion on there. So I pretty much still use my Instagram as a personal Instagram, but now I'm just thinking, if anybody wants to contact me for fast company related things or work related things, should I create a separate account for that? Because I feel like, well, I'm kind of the person like you get what you get. I'm the same at work and at home. So that's
Mm-hmm.
why I just have one account. I just feel like Christina as a whole, you're going to get all the pieces of Christina. But I don't know.
Yeah, I get that. I've thought about that too. I guess it's more that if I created just a work Instagram, it would be pretty boring. But I am pretty selective about what I share, I mean, look, my boyfriend's on there, my cat's on there, my family's on there, but like I don't share a ton of details about my personal life. Like say me and my boyfriend have a fight, I'm not writing about that.
Yeah.
Um I so I have this chronic illness. It's called endometriosis. And what it means is often like, once a month, once every 2 months, I'm like really knocked out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I get migraines, I get nauseous. It's just awful. And I've never posted about that on social media. And then yesterday, a big New York Times article came out about it. It was a profile of this woman who's studying it named Linda Griffith. And I like shared it on my Instagram stories. And I woke up today feeling like terrible. I was like, should I have put that on my stories?
No,
Like, I don't want
yeah.
people to pity me. Like, that was not the goal. And, I didn't write like a long caption being like, this is how the disease made my life terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think that was an instance of like, I'm like, did I overshare? Was that the right thing to do? I don't know.
From a social media standpoint, people say that your audience wants to see your authentic self and they want they want a peek behind the curtain into your life. That's really why we follow people, right? Like we
Yeah,
want to
it's
see what's
true.
going on. But as you said, people always post what's the good that's going on in their life. Nobody's ever going to post their bad days on social media. And I'm not the type of person that's going to get on my story crying or anything, but I definitely will go on there. I can be a little preachy sometimes, and I'll go on there and share positive quotes and let people know what I'm going through just because it's relatable. Like I'm tired of the fake stuff too, you know?
Do you think so something we both talked about is like social media has been around for like our entire like our teen years through our adult life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like I don't know about you, but when I was 16 and I got Facebook for the first time, like I was really stupid. You know, like
Yes.
truly just like I mean, I really believe this is probably all 16-year-olds, like you're just an idiot. And even like, I mean, I'm an idiot now, but like, you know, my freshman year of college, I got Twitter and I'm like, Jesus Christ, like what could I possibly have tweeted? So after, you know, I don't know if you remember this, this journalist who previously worked for Axios named Alexi McCammond was named as Vogue editor in chief, and some old tweets that she'd made resurfaced that sort of said pretty offensive things about Asian Americans. And she'd made them in
Mm-hmm.
college. She apologized for them in 2019, but you know, they came up again and it sort of became a contentious issue. And she ended up having to, I mean, she ended up resigning. And I recently installed a thing where like any tweets that are more than a month will just automatically get deleted from my Twitter account. Not because I think I've posted anything bad, but I just don't know. Like when I
That's a
was
good idea.
who could like when I was 18, like who knows what I said.
Yeah.
Um
The thing is, I think about this a lot with cancel culture, and this has happened so many times recently. People's old tweets come up, and I think to myself, oh, it's a good thing I'm not famous. Nobody's going to see my old tweets.
yeah.
So, but like you said, I don't remember what I was saying when I was, what, 16 on Twitter. Like, and the fact of the matter is, times have changed. We weren't as politically correct as we were before. So,
Or we were just
hopefully,
or
I
I
didn't say
was
anything.
yeah, I was personally just not as like aware of the world because I was like a dumb 18-year-old who was like
Yeah.
obsessed with stupid like listen, I was still buying like Cosmo magazine. What? Like I mean obviously the publications changed, but like sometimes I look back at like the issues that I read and I'm like, what was I following this advice? Like
No, yeah, I definitely got like career advice from 17 magazine. So
it's like and it's funny now that I'm a magazine editor, I'm like, you know, here's
it's
5
crazy.
tips to do this. And it's not that it's not true. Like I get them from experts. I know they're well researched, but I'm like, I'm the person putting this out in the world. Um, you know, like it's I don't know, it's a weird feeling. But do you think, you know, going back to Alexi, for example, she's someone who tweeted these things in high school, apologized for them in 2019, and you know, they came up again when she got this sort of big public facing position and she ultimately resigned from the job. Do you think she should have resigned? Like, do you think those social media posts just kind of disqualify her?
Yeah, I think that at the end of the day, Alexi had a couple things going against her. Number one, the tweets surfaced at a bad time. I don't know if somebody went looking for those tweets and they popped up, or if they just surfaced at the bad time. But not only that, the timing of it, but also her staff was not happy, and you can't really lead a staff that isn't pleased with you or doesn't like you. And then to make matters worse, the word got out to the audience, and Teen Vogue readers didn't want to support Teen Vogue if they had, well, some people were calling her a racist for these old tweets. And that's the thing, maybe she did change and maybe her opinions did change, but the fact of the matter is she did say those things at one point. So I feel like she'll be canceled for now, but kind of like how other celebrities get canceled and then come back around, maybe she'll get canceled for now and people will slowly forgive her. But I think resigning was definitely the best choice for her and for the brand. That brand would have tanked if they had kept her on staff. So I'm sad that this woman of color said those things about other people of color and lost her job because of it. But it's just a lesson learned for all of us, really.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense to me. Well, now we're going to talk to an actual expert. That's Jamal Jordan. He's the author of Queer Love in Color, a photographic celebration of the love and relationships of queer people of color. And he's also a multimedia journalist who's worked for outlets including Vice and the New York Times. So, Jamal, you're someone who is one of my favorite follows on Twitter.
So
And
I'm
you
so honored.
have, you know, you've worked at places like the New York Times, which is obviously a very famous newsroom. And I'm curious, you know, when you were in those roles, how did you use social media to kind of help, or how did you kind of think about your social media presence at that time? And has that changed now that you're kind of more independent?
That's such a good question. I think for me, it's like I think of it like this, right? Like journalism is very much a like straight all white boys club. And just like working in the space is very much like I was very conscious, like I'm hiding a lot of myself to like fit into these workspaces from like everywhere from Vice to NBC to New York Times, right? And so uh given how much like emphasis we have on as journalists that we have on Twitter, it was really funny to say like, all right, well, I'm just being this person in the office, but I'm actually like have a space where I can work very publicly and just like talk about it. And it felt very empowering to have a space where it's like, all right, well, like you guys are gonna ignore my idea, but like the 10,000 people on Twitter who want to like listen to it, we'll listen to it. And
I
it's really
think it's
great when you
like 80,000 now. You got like 80,000 followers now.
Oh no, it's something like that. I'm lucky in that like most of my very very close friends aren't on Twitter, and so it feels very much like as soon as I close my phone, like no one cares about the super viral tweet I have going. So which makes it feel very healthy to me. It's like, all right, well, you know, no one in my home cares about my Twitter thread, so that helps you like keep it in perspective. But it is like really great to be like, I remember I had one time when an editor wouldn't let me do a story because editor at NBC wouldn't let me do the story on a memer named Cash because she's like, oh, like her audience isn't gonna be into that, all this stuff. And so I was like, no, fuck you, I'm gonna show you. And so I like forced my way to Los Angeles, stopped the story, edited it in 3 days. We tweeted it, and I remember it was like the most viral thing that was in politics that like NBC News had done that year.
Wow.
And I was like, yeah, Catherine Kim, like, sorry, I probably did.
No,
She's
I
my
love
nemesis.
that. So you kind of use it to do your job, but also to get your way in your job.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think like if you spend all your time on social media, you just recognize like how much of a disconnect there is between like all of the very young people on the internet and all the like not very like, kind of out of touch people who run newsrooms. And so there came a point in which it was like everything I say to you should not be a fight. And like there's a very like I have a very like there's a very large like sample size audience that you can have to say that there's an audience for stories that we are telling. And it serves as a really great like, you know, starting point for a lot of that. I mean, I've been in social media since I was in high school. Like I was the mayor of my high school's like Facebook group. Facebook. Like, remember, y'all are kind of young, but when I was a child, when I was 13, when Facebook made its expansion from like colleges to like high schools, every high school had to have like a mayor. Basically, the first person to be, oh, I'm gonna do this. So I was that person. So I was like, very powerful social person in Detroit for like a week as a 13-year-old. But no, I've always like been able to meet lots of friends and connect with people on social media that way. And so like when I think of my role as a journalist, especially working at places like the New York Times, which feel very like, you know, hard to permeate, I just find it kind of like as my responsibility. Like I'm a young Black dude. I walk into the Times and felt awkward every day. Like it was important for me to be like, hey, like just so you guys know, like you can connect with someone in this space who isn't like Maggie Hamer, someone that like is doing a huge thing, right? And so I very purposely tried to stay genuine to whatever shit I was thinking, like no matter where I was working. So,
and going off of
I
that,
rambled.
No, that was great.
I was going to say, going off of that, like, do you follow your coworkers and managers on social media and vice versa? Because I was talking to Yaz about possibly getting a burner account because I feel like my personal Twitter account has become my work Twitter account. And now that all my coworkers are following me, I don't want them seeing, like, for example, my birthday recently passed and I posted a picture with a big lotto quote. It was like, big cake like it's my B-day. And my manager liked it. And I was like, oh my God, I can't do this no more. I need a burner account. So how do you feel about posting personal stuff on your Twitter account?
It's so funny. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
I um so I definitely have a burner account. But that's a different podcast. I that like, honestly I don't care. Like I think my managers have always like found me on social media like pretty early. Like I like before the times I tweeted about like sexual and like racial harassment and like vice and the people I saw when I worked there. And my manager is actually cool enough just to be like, hey, like you start in a couple weeks, saw this viral Twitter thread about your previous work experiences. Like, want to talk about it? Like, how you doing? And so, like, that was really cool. I've had like some more negative stuff. Like, when I was younger, I would subtweet my job a lot. I remember one time I was like, I remember I said like, oh yeah, I was 25 and I said, oh yeah, I've learned so many like new job skills, getting coffee and dealing with white men's temper tantrums. And happy about that. But yeah, I don't know. Again, I I'm working in places that have like these really strict social media policies. It interestingly helps you find a way to be genuine when you know there's so many rules that you can't break, that you can break. So I'm pretty comfortable with like any person seeing like my main account, including my managers. And I did have to remember the box, the song by Roddy Ricch.
Yes.
I did have to explain that song to my managers once. I have had to explain like lots of awkward memes. One time at NBC News, I like someone saw my Tumblr and asked me to explain what Thrissy was in front of the entire in front of like my managers. So, like it's sometimes it's like, oh, like you're the meme guy, explain this weird shit to us. But
That's why I feel like I have to be careful with what I'm liking because I'll just passively like something, but I forget that Twitter shows people my likes. I don't want anybody seeing what I'm liking on there.
Oh, that happened before one time. I was like, oh no. I remember I like something inappropriate. And then one of my coworkers was like, oh Jamal, I see you. I was like, Twitter will really put you Twitter will put your business all out there for everybody. It's not but then it's like it's so weird because it's like on one hand no one cares, but also like I know some of the biggest opportunities in my life have come from social media. So like maybe someone does.
What are some of those opportunities? Like what are those big opportunities that you managed to get through social media?
So I wrote this book, Queer Love and Color, please buy it. And the entire like story of that book is really just like a bunch of well-placed tweets. Like I tweeted the story. I originally wrote a story in New York Times in 2019, my first year there. It was like my first 6 months there. It was the first article I'd ever like written. And I just said like, hey guys, first New York Times article, please like read it, all this stuff. It's really great. And it became like the largest driver of traffic to the New York Times website that day.
Wow.
It was like, and I was like, and someone told me, they were like, Jamal, all of us on the social team are looking at this tweet and we don't understand what's happening with it because it's like you and then Lin Manuel, what's his last name?
Miranda?
Miranda. Sorry, I blocked him from my brain. It was like, so that was really cool. I met the agent who eventually sold my book on Twitter. I once tweeted that I wanted to teach, and then I got a job teaching a class at Stanford.
Wow,
right?
That's huge.
I mean, on one hand, Twitter is Twitter, but then also it's like, oh, you're asking a very large community of people for help, and maybe someone will help you. So,
yeah.
Do you have any advice for us? So, say for example, like I don't have a super large Twitter following, but I think part of it is because I'm so self-conscious about tweeting, or I just like it, like makes me feel really nervous. But as two media professionals who are earlier on in their career, like, do you have any advice for how to use those platforms?
Yeah. What I always tell my students is like if your goal is to be popular on social, if your goal is to like have a large following on a social media platform, I think ask yourself like, oh, like what if I were someone else, why would I want to like what would you be adding to my timeline? And so like I uh, mostly just because of my limited mind. I tweet about the same like 5 things, like my book, racism, foods on Grinder, like things I'm cooking, and general like making fun of other magazine covers. And it's like, all right, like you know what you're gonna get. It's either like racism is bad, journalism sucks, or like look at what this guy on Grinder said. And listen, so I mean, I think there's like consistency in that is really helpful. I think a lot of it is again like I think remembering that it's a community and just like engaging with a lot of people is like really important. Not only because not only for the numbers part of it, but like that's what actually makes it fun to do. I think like though I try to think of it in terms of how I think of like IRL like interactions where it's like if you can try to make your page into some kind of community hub, that's like really important. It's like, hey, I want to like be open about whatever things I'm showing, and maybe people will come along with me. And self-consciousness never helps. So y'all are early in your careers, so I feel your managers expect you to be like the popular trigger kids.
Yeah.
Like, can you send a tweet? I don't know how this thread works. What's a tweet?
I really like that. My last question for you is where does first of all, tell us where we can find you on Twitter. And secondly, tell us the story behind your Twitter name.
I love it.
I wish it were a deeper story. So my Twitter handle and I think all my social media is a lost black boy. And I've had my handle since I was 14. When I was indeed a lost, right? When I was indeed a lost boy. And honestly, like there is no profound story. I was 14 years old. I just moved to Detroit. I was going to a white high school, like a wealthy white high school, and I was neither wealthy nor white. So I was like, damn, I'm literally lost black boy in the school, and so I just kind of stuck.
I love that. I mean, I don't love that you went through that, but like it is a nice story.
I like the Twitter name versus the handle. Lil Uzi hurt. Why you hurt?
I was literally I was listening to this remix of Money Longer by Lil Uzi Vert, and it was this like sad remix, and I listened to it over and over. And I just remember being like, I'm Lil Uzi Vert now, y'all, and I was like, wait, that's a great name. When I used to teach high schoolers, and they would always like, I'm 30 now. I started teaching when I'm 31. When I started teaching when I was 22, and depending upon what rapper was popular that year, they would just be like, "Oh, you look like Chief Keef. You look like a Juice WRLD." And I think I was getting
Lord,
a little while. So yeah,
I do see Juice WRLD a little bit. Rest in peace to him. But my social media handles have changed. First, it was Chris_Tina. That was, the first one right out of high school. Then I tried C. Roy. That didn't really go over well. That didn't take off. That didn't really take. And now it's Miss Chris D. And I've just kept that one. That's my persona.
I like that. Yeah, mine is Yasmin Gagne on Twitter. She's my name. My Instagram is Yazzie G because I was a big Ali G fan. It's also my email when I was like 14. I don't know if it's good, but
I love this trend of like refusing to use their real name on the internet. It's like I feel like the next Times editor-in-chief is gonna be like something like Pfizer Poppy on Twitter or something. Like,
I love that. Well, Jamal, thank you so much for talking to us today.
Yes, thank you.